A half-century ago, two former rodeo men went into the woods with a 16mm camera and stumbled on Bigfoot.
When she's walking across a sandbar and spreads her arms out and looks at the camera, frame 352, that's become the Bigfoot icon for our culture. Head to toe, whatever you remember.
He was thick, wide, tall, long, just big.
How tall would you guess?
I think it was 7 or 7.5 feet. I don't know how some of the people you guys talk to can just go back and act like it was nothing. It was a Sasquatch. I know it. I saw it.
It's not a bird. It's not a plane. It's not Superman. So what is it? Bigfoot? Some say yes. Finding Bigfoot is an entire series dedicated to finding something that so many people deem fake. Now, Cliff, let's first start with you. Your findings and why you're so convinced that Bigfoot is a big deal and, in fact, the real deal go back to a 1994 camping trip.
Any good expedition should start in the library. And a little bit prior to that expedition in 1984, I stumbled across a couple different books in my college library that were compilations of scientific journal articles written on the Sasquatch by anthropologists. And of course, the cultural anthropologists, they were looking at, say, like Native American oral tradition, and they were kind of perplexed, saying, well, why is it that literally every native tribe in North America has these things in their oral tradition?
Our elders have told us that there were beings that lived in the woods. But in our Turkey history, in our culture, we call them Uni Udawihi, the mythical or the secluded tribe.
That's peculiar, especially if these things aren't real, if those all made up in the 1970s or something, right?
Yeah.
And of course, the physical anthropologists were looking at this thing and saying, well, why is it that if we kind of piece together what the bone structure of these feet should look like based on the footprints, why is it that the differences we see in these inferred reconstructions happen to be, coincidentally, exactly the necessary redesign of the foot biomechanically to carry a mass of their size? That's just the tip of the iceberg. And I started reading about the evidence because I wasn't exposed to it. I kind of thought, well, maybe Bigfoot's real. I don't know. But once I started reading the evidence, it didn't take very long to make me think, holy smokes. Yeah, they're funny and quirky, but these things might be real.
Every single continent, there is an equivalent of Bigfoot or Sasquatch. There's the Yeti, there's the Yari in Australia, there's the Chinese wild man, and on and on and on.
In 94, I started doing field research, and I mean, look at me. I own the North American Bigfoot Center. I mean, I'm on a TV show about Bigfoot. I'm drowning in the subject right now, and I love it. What a way to go.
How would you describe it? And you just mentioned very big. How much do we think one weighs?
Well, back here, this is Murphy. This is our mascot here at the North American Bigfoot Center. Murphy's 7.5 feet tall. If this were made out of flesh and blood instead of foam, this would probably top 800, 900 pounds or so, or something like that, maybe a little bit more, because mass goes up exponentially, not linearly like height does. So this is quite a bit heavier than what you might expect, actually.
Oh gosh, it is fascinating. I have to say, I'm like very intrigued. And I know in the series, Finding Bigfoot, the search continues. What can people expect to get out of the show?
If you're a longtime viewer, we got the band back together, and we sound great.
I've been tracking Sasquatches for 25 years.
These animals, in fact, are real.
I've seen them. They're here.
I'm having a really difficult time finding an explanation for this.
There's something on the hill.
People are familiar with the show, and they like us as people, and they know that we're honest, and we're not faking anything on the show. This is an honest Bigfoot investigation.
Wait, it's moving, Adam.
Clear as day, vocalization in your direction. They are here. That was a Sasquatch.
We just got a knock, Matt. We just got a knock. Send up the bird.
If you've never seen the show, well, then you get to follow four quirky people like myself, living out their passion and talking directly to eyewitnesses who claim to have seen these things, looking at evidence and actually listening to evidence too. We went to Southeast Ohio, and there's a woman down there named Bee Mills, who's a Bigfoot investigator, who has recorded literally hours over the last 5 or 6 years of strange vocalizations from a property. These vocalizations cannot be matched to any other known North American mammal. But yet there it is. A photograph that we investigate from West Virginia that would never have been possible 15, 20 years ago with cell phone technology, because the guy observed a Sasquatch for just a few seconds and happened to pop his phone out of his pocket and get a picture of it. It's a really solid episode, actually. I'm really proud of it.
Yeah. Why are there hot spots that these these Bigfoot can be found, and why wouldn't I ever probably find one shopping for wine on aisle 9 at H-E-B, which is our supermarket here, Cliff?
Well, probably the same reason we aren't going to find bears in the dog food section at the supermarket, right? Like, wild animals just don't want anything to do with us, and who can blame? I barely want anything to do with us, right? And Sasquatches, no matter how human-like they may be, they don't want anything to do with us. They have their own way of life. They're out there in the woods. They're perfectly happy. And also, there's very, very few of them. There are hot spots, though, because Sasquatches are not very common animals by any stretch of the imagination, and they seem to hang out in certain areas, and those areas produce sightings again and again.
This is our first time to Mississippi. Let's find people who have seen a Sasquatch.
So hands up nice and high in the air.
Various people see these things or find footprints because there's a Sasquatch in the neighborhood. You know, like if you hang out on my block, you're much more likely to see me occasionally. It's as simple as that, really.
Yeah.
But Sasquatches are thinly spread species throughout North America in suitable habitat. And that's important because it doesn't matter who sees a Sasquatch. People of all education levels, all ethnicities, all economic levels, people see Sasquatches, but they see them in the same kinds of areas. It's not a demographic phenomenon.
Okay.
It's a geographic phenomenon like any wild animal encounter would be.
And then finally, I'm dead serious, Cliff. What do I do if I do see Bigfoot?
First thing you should do is, of course, try to document the encounter in any way. Take out your cell phone, try to snap a picture or a video. People say, well, why aren't there more pictures? Well, have you tried to take pictures of the wildlife you see? It's very difficult to do. Don't panic, don't freak out. Just try to remain calm and enjoy the 3 or 4 seconds that you have, and then tell somebody like me. Report it to the North American Bigfoot Center, for example.
All right, noted, Cliff. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And good luck. Good luck in finding.
Well, I appreciate that. Keep it squatchy.
Oh, you bet. All right, so Deb, I live with a 6'5" creature, massive feet, hairy chest if he doesn't trim it. So I'm thinking we may have a sighting on our hands.